You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Prison Talk with Jamie Meade and
Emma Charleston.
in this episode we will be discussing rehabilitation and education inside the prison system, specifically Michigan Department of Corrections.
And I want to know first off the bat before you even start. Do you access to education is like a human right? Yeah. Does Michigan, do people in prison have a right to education, or is that something that you forego when you are put into the system?
It matters what your sentence is. Recently, well, it dates back to President George Bush had passed the second chance legislation, and during that there was a clause in it to temporarily, under advisement status or research status, to re-implement Pell Grants. And in the United States, Pell Grants are a grant that you're given at the undergrad level to help fund community college or any other university.
So that's any student in America.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Michigan was one of the chosen states. Well, George Bush didn't implement it. When President Barack Obama came in, he implemented a pilot project to do that under the Department of Education.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Michigan was a chosen state, because when they took Pell Grants, Michigan was one of the few states that took all college out. They didn't even keep any of it.
Okay.
And did not pay for anything through the state.
Yeah.
So Barack Obama chose, I believe it was 20 states under this project, and it evolved. Then when President Donald Trump came in, he fully implemented the Pell Grant system again for prisoners. However, in the law, there's no stipulation if a lifer gets it or someone's sentenced to a long term or anything. But Michigan made an executive decision through the governor's office and through the director of corrections that only people with less than 6 years can apply for Pell Grants.
What?
So it excludes many prisoners. Anyone that has, if you have 7 years, you can't get it. You can't apply.
That seems a bit ridiculous to me, because education, I'm pretty sure everyone can agree, changes your mindset and the way you think. You'd think you'd want, no matter how long you had left or whether you were going to get out or not, you'd think you'd want everyone as educated as possible, because the more educated you are, the less ridiculously stupid you tend to act. So what is their reason for that?
I believe initially, I'm not 100% for sure, but I believe initially they claimed that they wanted to give it to make sure there's enough Pell Grants for all the prisoners leaving. Well,
that's fair
there's
enough.
not a set amount of the number of Pell Grants given to each state. It was, you apply, and if you satisfy all the criteria of the Pell Grant, you can get it.
Yeah.
And but what makes they're just illogical is the fact that some people have they learn at a slower rate than normal.
Just to stop you for a second, Jamie.
An average 4-year degree may take them.
Just to stop you for a second, Jamie, my reception's going in and out at the moment, so we might have to re-record this. No, it's good now. I'm just be prepared. There might be might be an answer or that you might need to repeat. That's all.
Well, some people, a normal person could finish their bachelor's degree in 4 years.
Yeah.
And there's no actually.
Hang on, stop.
Jackson College does have
You shouldn't say a normal person, because I do a bachelor's degree part-time, which is, I'm already into my third year, so I take offense, mister.
Learning disabilities and that would need more time. And if it would, for me, I did my bachelor's degree all through correspondence.
Yeah.
It took me over 6 years, almost 7 years to complete a bachelor's degree. I was doing it on my own. So that right there, you know, that's why someone that has more than 6 years should be able to qualify for a Pell Grant. But that's
not the point.
You know, that's an issue that citizens of the state of Michigan need to take up with their elected officials and ask them, why are they restricted? Because if you have 10-year sentence and it takes you 6 years to finish a bachelor's degree, why shouldn't you
start?
All right, you could be doing your bachelor's degree all through that period. But that goes back to the rehabilitation. The Michigan Department of Corrections has an ideology that you could serve 20 years, in your last 6 months they want you to be rehabilitated. They put you in programs your last 6 months. They don't put you in programs all through your incarceration.
Is it fair? Is it fair to say, from my perspective, and I am not an educator and I don't know anything about prison aside from conversations I have with you, is it fair to say though, if everybody, now I realize not everybody in prison is going to get education and, you know, grab hold of it and appreciate it as much as you have, but is it fair to say if there was more access to it, there would be more people educating themselves and the behaviour of everybody within prison itself would be changed in, you know, without needing all the extra rehabilitation programs that they don't give anyone anyway?
I believe so, because education is one of the topics that has deep-rooted research by universities across the country and world. And it is something that has a serious effect on reducing recidivism within, you know, once they're released. And so at one time, I always relate education to rehabilitation. At one time in the 1970s, Robert Martinson wrote a paper on Nothing Works. And the topic was based on rehabilitation, that offenders could not be rehabilitated. And during that time, his paper caused many states to reverse their ideology or stance on rehabilitation to warehousing. And he later came back and said there are programs, rehabilitational programs that do affect recidivism, that has an effect on it. So, but that's why I relate education to that, because once you get a formal education through an accredited college or university, you are employable. You have the critical thinking skills necessary to maintain employment or problem solve. So there are many.
But I think even more important than that, and I don't know, and I don't even think just for people in prison, but I just think for people in general, even more important than those things is the ability to think for yourself, but I mean also to open your mind to new perspectives, which might automatically open your mind to, you know, your own behaviors, you see other things, different ways of being. And then, you know, which changes you. I think education for that perspective is incredibly important, especially for people in prison.
And in the Department of Corrections, many people are labeled antisocial personality disorder, which in other words is sociopath, or that's the psychological term for it. And that is the criminal form of a disorder, one of the criminal forms.
Antisocial.
And under that disorder, it states that continuous rule violations. There's several. You have to get 3 or 4 out of 7 marks on it. But one of them is inability to create and maintain long-term goals. Well, earning an education is a long-term goal.
Yeah.
It is an investment. So that right there defeats that personality.
Yes.
Along with, rule violations and things like that. But, education does help change prisoners. And it changed me. That's what opened my mind to rehabilitation. That's what opened my mind to my path as a Christian.
What about it?
Education was the first. Because initially I started as a business degree, but then I stopped because I've never held a job.
Yeah.
So I never had a job, so I wasn't a manager of a business. So I couldn't apply what I was learning in business to everyday life because I came to prison at a young age.
Yeah.
However, Carol Kramer from the Davis Poudre Scholarship Fund in a conversation said, why don't you just do criminology, criminal justice, something that you are very familiar with, you have experience in.
Yeah.
So I switched to criminal justice and legal studies. And the reason I switched to criminal justice is because of the fact that the school that I was getting my degree from did not have a criminology department. However, I did take many criminology classes, criminal justice classes, legal classes, law classes, criminological psychology classes.
What's the difference? What's the difference for people that don't know from criminal justice, criminology, and what did you say? God, I can't even say it. Criminology. I can't say it. What is the difference?
It's criminology is the study of crime.
Yeah.
And why people commit crime.
Yeah.
There's many different fields. You can go under forensic evidence. There's different parts of criminology. There's the biological, psychological, the physical.
You have 1 minute remaining.
So criminology, criminal justice is the study of the criminal justice system, which is in America is the police, the judiciary, and corrections.
Yeah.
But we're getting short to the 1 minute mark, so we will pick this up in the next
And then you
phone
can
call.
explain what the other one was that I couldn't even bloody pronounce. Criminological? Yeah, criminological.
Criminological psychology.
Oh, thank God I can say it. All right. I'm not cutting any of this out either.
And that's a relatively new field. So
I think it's very good that people
we will continue this in part 2.
We will.
In a few.
Bye.
All right.
I think it's good that people get to see the juxtaposition of you knowing what the hell you're talking about and me unable to pronounce words. I think it's good.
It's easier for me to talk.
I can't hear him.